The chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light that orbited the neutral world of Axis Prime. Inside, 7 beings sat around a circular table that glowed with holographic star maps. These were the rulers of the Galactic Council, representatives of empires that had dominated the stars for thousands of years. High Commander Vrixtal clicked his mandibles together, a sign of irritation among his insect-like species. His black exoskeleton gleamed under the artificial lights as he pointed one of his 4 arms at the glowing map. Red dots marked human colonies, spreading like a disease across what the Council considered their territory. "The humans grow bolder each cycle," Vrixtal said, his voice translated by machines into a harsh, clicking sound that all species could understand. "They ignore our borders. They take what they want. They refuse to acknowledge our authority." Cathari Ambassador Selenvor rippled his tentacles in what passed for a nod among his people. The jellyfish-like creature floated in a tank of specialized fluid, his bioluminescent body pulsing with colors that showed his agreement. "We have sent them warnings. 17 official communications. They respond with silence or worse, with mockery." The other council members murmured their agreement. The Draxian representative, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, flickered with annoyance. The Moltec delegate, a massive bear-like creature covered in silver fur, growled deep in his throat. "Perhaps we have been too patient," said Ambassador Tirshon of the Pale Ones, her gray skin seeming to absorb the light around her. "Our ancestors built this council to maintain order in the galaxy. These humans threaten that order." Vrixtal stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the table. "I propose we end this threat now before they grow stronger. My dominion has conquered 400 star systems. We have crushed rebellions that lasted centuries. These humans have barely left their home system. They are children playing with toys they do not understand." A holographic display appeared above the table, showing detailed scans of human warships. The council members leaned forward, studying the data with interest and barely concealed contempt. "Look at their technology," Cathari Ambassador Selenvor said, his voice bubbling with amusement. "Chemical rockets for propulsion, kinetic weapons that throw pieces of metal, primitive nuclear devices. We abandoned such crude methods 10,000 years ago." The Draxian representative's voice crackled like static. "Their ships have no energy shields. Their hulls are simple metal alloys. A single plasma lance from one of our cruisers could cut through a dozen of their vessels." Moltec war leader Garthun laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "They still use biological pilots. No neural interfaces. No quantum processors. They communicate with radio waves like savages shouting across a valley." "Then we are agreed?" Vrixtal asked, looking around the chamber. "We send a fleet. We destroy enough of their colonies to teach them respect. They will learn their place in the cosmic order." Ambassador Tirshon raised one pale hand. "Should we not offer them one final chance at peace? The old protocols demand it." "We have offered them 17 chances," Vrixtal snapped. "They have ignored everyone. No, we show them what happens when a primitive species challenges powers that ruled the stars before their ancestors crawled from the mud." The vote was called. 7 lights appeared above the table, 1 for each empire. One by one they turned red. "Unanimous. War. How many ships?" asked the Moltec war leader. 2,000, Vrixtal replied. "The largest armada assembled in 10,000 years. Every species will contribute. We will meet at the Epsilon Eridani system, where the humans have established a forward colony. We will give them one final ultimatum, and when they refuse, we will show them the power of the Council." The meeting ended. The 7 representatives returned to their ships and messages were sent across the galaxy. War fleets began to gather, pulling ships from border patrols and garrison duties. Soldiers were briefed. Weapons were charged. The Council prepared to crush an upstart species that had dared to challenge the established order. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the city of Geneva, Admiral Helena Zhao stood before a wall of screens showing star charts and fleet positions. She was a small woman, her dark hair streaked with gray, her face lined with worry and sleepless nights. But her eyes were sharp, and her hands were steady as she read the intelligence report. "They're coming," said Colonel Marcus Webb, standing beside her. He was a tall man with skin dark as space itself, and a scar running down his left cheek. 2,000 ships. Every major power in the Council. They'll reach Epsilon Eridani in 3 weeks. Zhao was quiet for a long moment, studying the numbers. 2,000 ships against the 200 they had stationed at Epsilon Eridani. 10-1 odds. The Council expected humanity to surrender or be destroyed. Contact Admiral Park at Epsilon Eridani. Zhao said finally. Tell him to prepare defensive positions. And Marcus? Yes, ma'am? Send the activation codes to Ghost Fleet Command. It's time to show the Council what we've really been building all these years. Webb's eyes widened slightly. All of them, ma'am? Zhao turned to look at him, and in her eyes he saw something that made him step back. It was not fear or anger. It was the cold, calculating look of someone who had already decided how far she was willing to go. All of them, she said quietly. They want to see what humanity can do. Let's show them. The Council Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, like a swarm of angry hornets. 2,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering spread out in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with exotic metals that humans had no names for. Energy shields shimmered around them like soap bubbles in the starlight. On the bridge of the flagship Eternal Conquest, High Commander Vrixtal watched the tactical display with satisfaction. His compound eyes could process far more information than human eyes, seeing the entire battlefield at once. The human colony world appeared as a small blue dot in the distance, and between his fleet and that world stood the pitiful human defense force. 207 human vessels detected, reported his tactical officer, mostly frigate and destroyer class. No capital ships, no dreadnoughts. Vrixtal clicked his mandibles in what passed for a smile. They cannot possibly believe they can stop us. Open a communication channel. The face of Admiral James Park appeared on the screen. He was an older human with Asian features, his gray hair cut military short, his expression calm despite facing impossible odds. He wore a simple blue uniform with rank insignia that meant nothing to the Council. I am High Commander Vrixtal of the Vrix Dominion, speaking for the Galactic Council, Vrixtal announced. Your species has violated Council space and ignored our warnings. You will withdraw from all contested systems immediately. You will submit to Council oversight. You will accept our terms or you will be destroyed. You have one of your hours to decide. Admiral Park was quiet for a moment. Then he leaned forward slightly. Commander, with respect, we decline. This system is human territory. We will defend it. Vrixtal felt anger surge through him. You face 2,000 warships with barely 200. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are weak. Surrender or die. Then I suppose we die, Park said simply. But we're taking as many of you with us as we can. The transmission cut off. Vrixtal stood from his command throne, all four of his arms gesturing in fury. Destroy them. Show no mercy. Let this be a lesson to all who challenge the Council. The Council fleet surged forward. Plasma cannons charged, sending bolts of superheated matter across the void. Exotic particle beams lanced out, capable of tearing through normal matter like paper. The display screens showed the Council's overwhelming firepower converging on the human positions. But the humans did not sit and wait to die. They scattered like leaves in a storm, their ships accelerating at speeds that surprised the Council tacticians. Then they fired back. The first wave of human weapons looked primitive on sensors, simple missiles with chemical rockets and nuclear warheads. The Council crews laughed as their energy shields absorbed the blasts easily. But then something strange happened. Commander, their missiles are not detonating against our shields, the tactical officer reported. They are passing through them. That is impossible, Vrixtal snapped. Nothing passes through our shields, but the missiles did pass through because they were not energy weapons. They were solid matter, and the Council's shields were designed to stop plasma and particle beams, not physical objects. The nuclear warheads detonated against the hulls of the Council ships, and suddenly, 12 vessels were gone, torn apart by explosions that registered in the megaton range. Impossible, Vrixtal whispered. Those weapons should not work. Then came the railguns. Human ships fired metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds by electromagnetic forces. The projectiles moved so fast they appeared as streaks of light, and when they hit Council ships, they punched straight through shields and hulls alike. Each slug carried the kinetic energy of a small bomb, and there were thousands of them. More Council ships died. Then the humans launched cyber attacks, sending viruses and malware through the quantum communication networks that connected the Council fleet. Ships lost control of their weapons. Navigation systems went haywire. 3 Draxian cruisers collided with each other as their AI systems were corrupted. How are they doing this? Cathari Subcommander Telvan demanded from his ship. Their technology is primitive. This should not be possible. But it was possible, because humans had studied the Council for decades. They knew how the shields worked. They knew how the communication systems functioned. They had designed weapons specifically to exploit those weaknesses. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Council fleet slowly pushed forward, their superior numbers and firepower gradually overwhelming the human defenders. But every meter of space was paid for in blood and metal. Human ships rammed Council vessels when their weapons ran dry. Damaged human frigates set their reactors to overload and flew directly into enemy formations, turning themselves into bombs. Admiral Park's flagship was one of the last ships standing. His bridge was on fire, half his crew was dead, and his ship was held together by emergency force fields and prayers. But he kept fighting until a plasma lance cut his ship in half. When the battle finally ended, the Council fleet had won. The human defense force was destroyed, but as Vrixtal looked at his casualty reports, his mandibles trembled. 800 ships, 800 of his 2,000 vessels were destroyed or disabled, 40% of his fleet gone, losses that should have taken months of hard fighting, inflicted in a single 6-hour battle. "Get me the Council," Vrixtal ordered, his voice shaking. Immediately. When the other commanders appeared on his screen, he saw the same shock in their faces. The Moltec war leader's silver fur was matted with stress hormones. The Pale One's ambassador looked even more ghostly than usual. "They fought like demons," the war leader said quietly. "Every ship, every crew. They did not retreat even when defeat was certain. They chose death over surrender." "This was supposed to be easy," Cathari Commander Telvan bubbled. "This was supposed to teach them a lesson. Instead, we learned one. We learned that humans do not fear death. They embrace it if it means hurting their enemies." Vrixtal transmitted his report back to the Council homeworlds. He included everything: the unexpected weapons, the cyber warfare, the suicide tactics, the casualty numbers. He ended with a single line that would haunt the Council for years to come. "We won this battle, but if every human system fights like this, we cannot win this war." The Council met again, but this time there was no confidence in the chamber. The holographic displays showed burning colonies and destroyed fleets. The victory at Epsilon Eridani had cost them dearly, and now the humans were fighting back across a dozen systems. But it was the newest reports that made the Council members fall silent with horror. The humans were not just fighting. They were dying by the billions, and they were taking the Council's civilians with them. High Commander Vrixtal stood before the Council, his exoskeleton scarred from a human attack on his command ship. "The humans have changed tactics. They are no longer defending. They are attacking, and they are targeting our colony worlds." The display changed to show the Cathari agricultural world of Selen Prime. Where once there had been vast ocean farms feeding billions, now there was only death. Human ships had seeded the waters with biological weapons designed specifically for Cathari biology. 90% of the population was dead within days. "This is genocide," Ambassador Selenvor bubbled, his colors flashing with grief and rage. "This violates every law of civilized warfare." "They do not care about civilized warfare," said the Pale One's ambassador. Her voice was cold as ice. "My people's colony at Tierval was destroyed 3 days ago. The humans used kinetic bombardment. Asteroids accelerated to near light speed. The entire surface of the planet is molten rock. 12 billion dead in minutes." The Moltec war leader slammed his massive fist on the table. "Then we respond in kind. We have planet-killer weapons. We have stellar compression devices. We will destroy their worlds just as they destroy ours. That is already authorized," Vrixtal said quietly. "Council Command gave the order yesterday. The Earth colony of New Beijing was destroyed 4 hours ago. 3 billion humans dead." The chamber fell silent. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. This was no longer a war of conquest or control. This was a war of extinction. On Earth, in the command bunker beneath Geneva, Admiral Helena Zhao watched the footage of New Beijing's destruction. The colony had been her daughter's home. Her grandchildren had lived there. Now they were vapor, scattered across the void of space. Colonel Webb stood beside her, his face carefully neutral. "Admiral, the UN Security Council is in emergency session. They're asking for your recommendation." Zhao turned away from the screen. Her eyes were dry. She had no more tears left. "Tell them to authorize Protocol Omega. Full deployment of Ghost Fleet, no restrictions. No mercy. Ma'am, that's every ship we've built in secret. That's revealing our full military capability. I know exactly what it is, Colonel. Zhao's voice was hard as steel. They wanted to see what humanity can do when pushed to the edge. They're about to learn. She walked to another display, one that showed star systems throughout human space. At her command, those displays changed, revealing what had been hidden for years. Massive construction yards orbiting Jupiter, shipyards built into asteroid belts, automated factories on the moons of Saturn. All of them had been building ships in secret, hidden from Council sensors by stealth technology humans had developed decades ago. Ghost Fleet consists of 4,000 vessels, Zhao continued. Automated warships with artificial intelligence cores. No human crews to worry about. No need for life support or food or rest. They can accelerate at speeds that would kill organic pilots. They can make decisions in microseconds. And they have one program directive: destroy the enemy. Webb stared at the numbers. 4,000 ships. That's twice the size of the Council fleet that attacked us. And that's not all, Zhao said. She pulled up another file, one marked with so many security warnings that even Webb had never seen it. We've weaponized concepts the Council thinks are primitive. Kinetic kill vehicles moving at 90% of light speed. Fusion bombs the size of moons. Self-replicating nanomachine swarms that can disassemble entire fleets atom by atom. Biological weapons tailored to every Council species' genetics. My God, Webb whispered. When did we build all this? We've been preparing for this since first contact, Zhao replied. We learned early that the galaxy was not a friendly place. We learned that advanced technology did not mean advanced morality. So we prepared for the worst, and now the worst has come. She activated the command console and entered her authorization codes. Across human space, the Ghost Fleet awakened. 4,000 ships powered up their reactors. Artificial intelligence systems began calculating firing solutions and attack vectors. Weapons that could crack planets were armed and ready, but Zhao was not done. She opened another channel, this one going directly to every human colony, every space station, every ship in the fleet. Her face appeared on billions of screens. People of Earth and her colonies, she began. You have seen what the Council has done. They destroyed New Beijing. They killed our families. They thought they could make us bow through terror. They were wrong, she paused, letting her words sink in. The Council declared total war. They chose to target civilians. They chose to use planet-killer weapons very well. We will show them what total war means to humanity. We will show them that we do not bow. We do not break. And if they want to turn this into a war of extinction, then we will make sure they go extinct first. Across human space, the response was immediate. Civilian ships were converted into warships. Mining lasers became weapons. Colony transports became troop carriers. Every human, from children to elderly, began preparing for total war. They have more ships, Zhao continued. They have better technology in some ways. They have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. But they have one critical weakness. They have forgotten how to fight for survival. They have forgotten what it means to face extinction. We have not. We remember, and we will teach them to fear us. The Ghost Fleet launched. 4,000 automated warships, each one a masterpiece of human engineering and human rage, accelerated toward Council space. Behind them came the converted civilian ships, the militia fleets, the volunteer forces. Humanity was going to war not as a divided species, but as one unified force with one unified goal. Destroy the Council before the Council destroys us. In the Council chambers, alarms began to sound. Sensors detected the massive human fleet moving toward their space. The numbers appeared on their displays, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the Council knew fear. 4,000 ships, Vrixtal whispered. Where did they get 4,000 ships? Our intelligence said they had barely 500. They lied, the Pale One's ambassador said simply. They lied to us for years. They let us think they were weak. And now they will make us pay for underestimating them. The Council scrambled to defend themselves, but they were too slow, too arrogant, too certain of their superiority. The humans were coming, and they were bringing hell with them. The human attack came from everywhere at once. The Council had expected traditional warfare, fleet against fleet, system against system. What they got instead was chaos. The Ghost Fleet did not fight with honor or follow any rules of engagement. The automated warships struck 50 systems simultaneously, appearing without warning from faster-than-light jumps. But they did not target military installations. They targeted everything the Council needed to survive. In the Vrix home system, human ships ignored the waiting defense fleets and instead destroyed the massive orbital platforms that processed food for the insectoid population. Within days, billions of Vrix citizens faced starvation. When the defense fleet moved to protect the food processors, human ships attacked the fuel depots instead. When they moved to protect those, the humans struck the water purification facilities. They are not trying to defeat us in battle, Vrixtal realized, watching his civilization begin to crumble. They are trying to make us collapse from within. The Cathari suffered worse. Human intelligence had captured Cathari genetic samples from the battle at Epsilon Eridani. Human scientists, working with a speed born of desperation and rage, had engineered a virus specifically designed for Cathari biology. It spread through their population like wildfire, killing millions per day. The jellyfish-like beings had no immunity, no defense, no cure. Ambassador Selenvor watched his species die in real time. The virus attacked the neural clusters that gave his people their intelligence. Infected Cathari reverted to animal intelligence, unable to communicate or reason. Entire worlds, full of the Council's greatest thinkers, became worlds of mindless animals floating in tanks. "How do you fight an enemy that uses such weapons?" Selenvor asked, his colors fading to pale gray. "How do you make peace with monsters?" But the humans were just getting started. In the Cathari home system, human ships deployed what they called seed mines. Small devices, each no bigger than a human fist, scattered by the millions throughout the asteroid belt. The mines were programmed to wait, to hide, to activate randomly over the course of months or years. Every ship that traveled through Cathari space now risked sudden destruction from a mine that might have been dormant for weeks. The psychological effect was devastating. Cathari ships refused to fly. Trade stopped. Their empire began to starve as food and resources could not be transported between worlds. The Draxian crystalline beings thought their energy-based forms would protect them. They were wrong. Human scientists had weaponized quantum uncertainty, creating bombs that disrupted the energy fields that held Draxian consciousness together. When these weapons detonated, Draxians simply ceased to exist. Their energy signatures scattered beyond any hope of recovery. 3 Draxian core worlds were hit by these weapons. Trillions of beings gone in instants, their death screams transmitted across quantum channels before they vanished into entropy. The Moltec tried to fight back with traditional means. There, massive war fleets engaged the human ghost fleet in direct combat, but the automated human ships did not care about survival. They rammed enemy vessels. They overloaded their reactors and turned themselves into bombs. They used tactics that would have been suicidal for crewed ships, because they had no crews to lose. In the Battle of Garthun Prime, 300 Moltec warships faced 200 human automated vessels. The humans lost every ship, but so did the Moltec, and the humans could replace their losses. The Moltec could not. "We are losing," war leader Garthun admitted to the Council, not because they are stronger, not because their technology is better, but because they do not care about the cost. They will sacrifice 100 ships to destroy 10 of ours, and they consider it a victory. The Pale Ones tried a different approach. They used their advanced stealth technology to strike at Earth itself, hoping to decapitate human leadership. A Pale Ones assassin team infiltrated the Geneva bunker, got within meters of Admiral Zhao. They never made it to her. Human security forces killed them, but not before the assassins transmitted data about Earth's defenses back to their fleet. A Pale One strike force moved to attack Earth, confident they could destroy the human homeworld and end the war. The strike force never arrived. Human intelligence had intercepted the transmission. They knew the Pale Ones were coming, and they had prepared a surprise. When the Pale Ones' fleet emerged in the Sol system, they found themselves surrounded by a minefield of devastating proportions. But these were not ordinary mines. These were relativistic kill vehicles. Asteroids accelerated to 90% of light speed and aimed at specific points in space. When the Pale One's ships appeared, the asteroids were already there, already moving, already unavoidable. The energy released when mass moving at near light speed hits matter is beyond comprehension. The Pale One's fleet was not destroyed. It was erased, converted to plasma in microseconds. Not a single ship escaped. In response, Admiral Zhao sent a message to the Pale One's homeworld. It was simple and direct. That was your warning. The next attack on Earth will be met with the destruction of your core systems. We have 50 relativistic kill vehicles aimed at your worlds right now. They are already in flight. They will arrive in 3 years. The only way to stop them is to surrender. Choose. The Pale One's council met in emergency session. They calculated their options. The math was simple and terrible. They could not stop weapons moving that fast. They could not evacuate entire worlds in 3 years. They could surrender or they could watch their civilization end. They surrendered. One by one, the council empires began to crack. The Cathari signed a ceasefire. Their empire reduced to a fraction of its former size. Their population devastated by plague. The Draxians withdrew from the war, too terrified of quantum disruption weapons to continue fighting. The Moltec asked for terms. Their military shattered beyond repair. Only the Vrix Dominion and 2 other empires refused to surrender. Hi. Commander Vrixtal sent a message to Admiral Zhao. One final attempt at defiance. You may have won battles, human. You may have destroyed our fleets and killed our civilians, but we will never bow to you. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We will rule it for 10,000 more. Zhao's response was delivered not in words, but in action. Human fleets surrounded the 3 remaining council homeworlds. They did not attack. They simply waited, their weapons armed, their intent clear. Then Zhao sent her message. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you do not, we will deploy Protocol Ragnarok. Every core world of the remaining council empires will be destroyed. Not occupied, not conquered, destroyed, turned into lifeless rocks. We have the weapons in position. We have the capability. And after what you did to New Beijing, we have the will. Your choice is simple. Surrender or die. High Commander Vrixtal looked at the human fleet surrounding his homeworld. He looked at the casualty reports. He looked at the ruins of what had once been the greatest empire in the galaxy, and he made his choice. The Vrix Dominion surrendered. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. The Peace Summit was held on Axis Prime, the same neutral world where the Council had voted for war 2 years earlier. But the galaxy that gathered there was unrecognizable from the one that had existed before. Of the 7 great empires that had formed the Galactic Council, 4 were completely destroyed. Their governments had collapsed. Their populations were scattered. Their territories were empty shells, waiting for someone to claim them. The 3 surviving empires were shadows of their former glory, reduced to a fraction of their original size and power. And sitting at the head of the table where the council had once ruled was Admiral Helena Zhao, representing humanity. She looked older than her years. The war had aged her in ways that went beyond simple time. Her hair was completely gray now. Lines of stress and grief marked her face. But her eyes were still sharp, still calculating, still dangerous. Around the table sat the survivors. High Commander Vrixtal, his exoskeleton scarred and cracked. 3 of his 4 arms lost in battle. Ambassador Selenvor, his colors faded to pale gray. His tank smaller than before because so few Cathari remained to build proper facilities. The Moltec war leader, his silver fur patchy with age and stress, his massive frame somehow diminished. The Galactic Council is dissolved, Zhao announced. There was no discussion. No vote, she simply stated fact. It failed in its purpose. It brought war instead of peace. It brought extinction instead of order. It ends today, no one argued. What could they say? The Council's fleets were destroyed. Their worlds were occupied by human forces. They existed at humanity's mercy, and everyone in the room knew it. A new organization will take its place, Zhao continued. The Galactic Assembly. Every species will have representation. Decisions will be made collectively. And there will be rules. Simple rules. Do not target civilian populations. Do not use world-killer weapons. Do not attempt genocide. Break these rules and you will face humanity's response. Vrixtal clicked his remaining mandible softly. And who enforces these rules? Humanity? Yes, Zhao said simply. Because we proved we can. Because we proved we will. Because we made you all fear us enough that you will think twice before breaking the peace. It was brutal honesty, but no one could dispute it. Humanity had gone from a dismissed upstart species to the dominant military power in the galaxy in just 2 years. They had done it through tactics that horrified the older species, through weapons that violated every principle of civilized warfare, through a willingness to sacrifice that bordered on suicidal. But Zhao was not done. She activated a holographic display and the room fell silent. The display showed weapon systems, terrible weapons, planet crackers, stellar compression bombs, self-replicating war machines that could consume entire star systems, biological weapons that could sterilize worlds, and relativistic kill vehicles already in flight, aimed at specific targets throughout the galaxy. You need to understand something, Zhao said quietly. Everything you saw in this war, we were holding back. These are the weapons we chose not to use. We could have ended all of you. We could have sterilized your homeworlds. We could have turned your stars into supernovas. We had the capability. We had the weapons ready, and we chose not to deploy them. Ambassador Selen Vor's colors shifted to shocked blue. Why? If you had such weapons, why did you not use them? Because then who would be left to remember? She replied, if we killed everyone, if we destroyed everything, then there would be no one to pass down the lesson. No one to teach the next generation why you should never threaten humanity's survival. You needed to survive so you could be afraid, so you could tell your children and your children's children what happens when someone tries to exterminate us. The room was silent. The surviving council members understood. They were not spared out of mercy. They were spared to serve as a warning. How many did we lose? Asked the Maltec war leader, his voice heavy with grief. Zhao pulled up the casualty numbers. They hung in the air like accusations. Humanity lost 11 billion people, 40% of our total population. 32 colonies completely destroyed. Hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of trained military personnel. The Cathari lost 23 billion. The Moltec lost 18 billion. The Vrix Dominion lost 30 billion. The Draxians, Pale Ones, and others combined lost another 40 billion. Total casualties across all species, 122 billion sentient beings. The numbers were staggering. The war had lasted only 2 years, but it had killed more beings than had died in the previous 1,000 years of galactic history combined. And it was all preventable, Zhao said softly, if the Council had respected our borders, if they had negotiated instead of threatening, if they had treated us as equals instead of primitives to be crushed. All those deaths, all that destruction, all of it could have been avoided. High Commander Vrixtal lowered his head. We underestimated you. We thought you were weak because your technology was different. We thought you were primitive because you were young. We were wrong, and we paid for that mistake with our empires. The question now, Zhao said, is what comes next. We can continue this cycle of violence. We can turn the galaxy into an endless war zone, or we can learn from this. We can build something better, something that respects all species, not just the old and powerful. She stood, and despite her small size, she dominated the room. Humanity will enforce the peace. Our fleets will patrol the trade routes. Our weapons will remain active and ready. But we do not want to rule you. We do not want to become the new council. We just want to make sure this never happens again. The treaty was signed that day. The Galactic Assembly was founded. Humanity took its place as a major power, feared and respected in equal measure. But there was no celebration in the human delegation. 3 days later, Zhao stood before a memorial on Earth. It was a simple structure, a wall of black stone with names carved into it. 122 billion names, one for every being that died in the war. It would take a lifetime to read them all. Colonel Webb stood beside her, now promoted to general. He had survived the war, though barely. His left arm was cybernetic now, replaced after a battle near the Moltec homeworld. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. Zhao was silent for a long time. She reached out and touched the wall, finding the names of her daughter and grandchildren among the billions of others. We survived, she said finally. That's what matters. We proved that humanity will not go quietly into extinction. We proved that we will fight with everything we have, no matter the cost. But the price, she trailed off, unable to finish. The price had been too high. The victory too bloody. The methods too brutal. Humanity had become the monster it fought against, willing to do anything, sacrifice anyone, burn any world to ensure its survival. The next generation will judge us, Zhao continued. They will look at what we did, the weapons we used, the civilians we killed. They will ask if we went too far, if we lost our humanity in the process of defending it. And what will you tell them? Webb asked. Zhao turned away from the memorial, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, human fleets patrolled the darkness, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Somewhere up there, other species looked at those fleets and felt fear. Humanity had become the galaxy's apex predator, the thing that lurked in the dark, the species that all others whispered about in frightened tones. I will tell them the truth, Zhao said, that we did what we had to do, that we made the hard choices, that we sacrificed our innocence to ensure our survival, and I will tell them that it is their responsibility to be better than we were, to find a way to be strong without being cruel, to defend humanity without becoming monsters. She started walking back toward the transport that would take her to fleet headquarters. She had a job to do. Peace to maintain, fleets to command, a galaxy to watch over. We proved we can survive anything, she said to Webb as they walked. We proved we can fight. We proved we can win. But the hardest question is not whether we can fight. It is whether we can learn to stop. Whether we can put down these weapons we created and build something better. That is the real test. Not the war we fought, but the peace we build afterward. Above them, the stars shone in the darkness, and among those stars, humanity's war fleets maintained their eternal vigil, ready to unleash hell itself if anyone ever again threatened humanity's survival. The galaxy had learned its lesson. They had seen what humanity could do when pushed to the edge. They would never forget. And they would never again make the mistake of threatening Earth.